Everybody, we got to do something really important. It's Romania. So Romania joins the war every 6 months beginning in February 1916. Greece every 6 months, June. All right, so we don't have to worry about Greece until June, but we do have Romania. And okay, joins the Allies on 3 or less. Joins the Central Powers on 12 or more. Dice roll modifiers are it's August. Nope. Allies controls Warsaw. Nope. Each Central Power controlled by the Allies. None. United States in the war, so we got a -1. Central Power player controls Paris. There's a +1, so they counter each other, so we can ignore those. For each Russian major city, except for Ludz, in control of the Central Power player. Alright, so we need to roll on a 1. Okay, there's no way they can join the Allies because we got a +3 to data modifier. The best we could do is a 4 for the Allies. Central Power player, we need to roll a 12. Was that yes, a 12. So with a +3, so on a 9, it's gonna join the Central Power. So let's see. Yep, we rolled a 1. All right. So they don't do anything. So they are ignoring the war at the moment as it rages around them. And then we'll have to do Greece. And the interesting thing is with Greece, there's an allied unit in Salonika. The United States is in the war. Okay. In control of Paris. So those control. So if they put a unit in Paris, not Paris, but in Salonika, probably a British player can land some troops there. Gotta remember to do that, maybe, and they'll join the war. Possibly. But you need join the Allies on a 0 or Central Powers on an 11. So the odds of joining either is probably pretty slim. Alright, we'll see what happens then. We'll be back. Everybody, it is March 1916. Eastern Front, Central Powers turn. And the Central Powers have moved up their troops, trying to fill in the gaps for the last offensive they did was kind of disastrous. Once again, over here, they moved up their troops onto the line and did an attack right here. The end result was, well, you're seeing some demoralized troops here and here. They attacked and had to retreat out of the zone of control because of those. I rolled 2 of those. First attack went off and they had an exchange, so they did take out 1 corps of Russians along with 1 corps of Germans, and there's still some Germans parked underneath there. But otherwise, these guys had to fall back to get out of the enemy zone of control, so not good. Over here, the Germans are in full-fledged retreat. This is supposed to go to this. So he's demoralized. They fell back because this unit here is just trying to get away from what's coming down the pipeline. All this, no, 1 corps cannot stop this entire army group. So, and the reinforcements, the nearest they could get, are right there. So it's kind of an iffy thing. The other thing is the other reinforcements they built are over here on this front, and they have some over there because, well, it takes troops some time to get to the front lines. And over here, the Austrians crushed the Russian corps that were right here, trying to relieve the Russians come down this rail line right here and got some resupply going on. But these corps right here, there were 2 groups of them, 2 army groups smashed into here, took them out. But they did lose a couple more of their corps in the process. So it was 2 exchanges, but they did take out the Russian groups that were there. So once again, this road is threatened again by the Austrians. But the Austrians are also threatened by the Russians up here, so it's going to be one of those things where they might have to fall back the next turn or else be cut off from their supply lines. And the only thing that's helping either side right now is that the conditions are muddy and mud conditions. Now down here, not much happened. These groups here, these Germans that are in this stack, this army group, doesn't really have enough firepower to even affect either group here. It would be like a one-to-one attack with a bunch of minuses, and it's best I think they could do is probably roll an 8, which I think is an exchange. So they could have probably gone that route. But the Bulgarians moved their army group to here, and the Germans are parked outside Sofia. And there's not much they can do over here. They don't want to move out of their city from here to here, because if they lose that, they lose one of their supplies. So other than that, that's pretty much everything that happened. And the Italians are just kicking back, eating pasta, drinking wine, and saying it's a great war. Not much has happened for them. All right, we're back. Everybody, it is March 1916 on the Allies' turn. And the Russians didn't do anything here. They formed some units up and got them to here. So they are extended their defensive line along the river here and the woods. So they're holding their own right there against the now looks like highly disorganized Germans that are having a hard time with everything. They hit the wall. Trench warfare on the Eastern Front is not doing so well as they did on the Western Front. Okay, over here, the Russians attacked that one German corps that was here and obliterated it. And so now the only thing defending between here and Minsk up here on this road junction, which is part of the supply line for this offensive here, is one demoralized corps and a defensive corps in Minsk, and this little corps here with some artillery. That is the only thing defending that entire rail line. So it looks like the Germans are going to have to do some reorganizing to get their troops and get their house in order, because right now they rush so much to get to catch up with the Russians. They gave the Russians time to defend and dig in, and now it's paying well for the Russians, letting Mother Nature and terrain distance work in their favor. So it's kind of hurting the Germans at the moment. So the Russians now are on the offensive again and going back, taking that territory they lost. Over here, the Russians and the British are rushing down the line down here. They're trying to cut off this road. This area down here is almost cut off. So I think what's going to probably happen is that these Austrians are going to have to fall back. They could probably use some rail movement to get to here, but they have to detrain at that point right there, because that's under a zone of control. So that will be a problem for the Austrians. So either they take Odessa or they fall back and try to form a line again, just like in protect Limburg, which has fallen once before to the Russians, and now they got British support. So it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen for the poor Austrians. Now, over here, the Brits sent their corps in here and hit this city on the coast right here, and with a glorious 10, they just obliterated that poor unit that was sitting there. The Germans that were sitting here in the defensive, in the trench line, were fired upon from the overlooking mountains across the river here and out of the city right here. And they lost a couple corps, and one was demoralized, which fell back to here. So it's looking like this defensive whole area right here is just falling apart. And what's really interesting is that the Brits are in supply right here. They are within striking distance of Sofia, which is lightly defended by this measly Cav Corps, which, you know, if this group gets in here and hits, it's going to be a 10-1. So they're going to have to figure out how to defend that area themselves from attack. And at the moment, they're used up all their replacements to even build units. So they're going to have to fall back. This unit, probably, this army group here, is probably going to have to fall back to here to put themselves in a good defensive position just to protect their capital without losing any supply. So, other than that, the Brits did lose one corps and some artillery, but, you know, it was a cost of taking some terrain and kicking some Germans and actually getting themselves in a better position to get in striking distance in a month or two of Sofia. So, the high planners of the high command said that was a good deal. A little bit of exchange for some good terrain. All right, we'll be back. Yeah, let's totally do this thing. I'm curious what's going to happen here. Grab this die, roll it. 8. What's the weather? Because we're moving into February. No, we went March, April. 8 is mud. We're still in mud. Mud. All right, that just lets me know what kind of conditions we're going to have. All right, we'll be back.